Hi, I'm Jimmy. In this video, we're going to look at the electric vehicle manufacturer NIO, ticker symbol NIO. So first, we're going to look at the basics of their business, and then we're going to try to see if we can come up with a fair value for their stock. Where would be a good spot to buy them today? Okay, so let's jump right in. So first, let's kick it off with the basics of NIO's business. And like I mentioned before, NIO is an electric vehicle manufacturer, and clearly the king of electric vehicles is Tesla. And then over in China, oh, and by the way, the Chinese market is already the largest electric vehicle market in the world. So we'll keep that in the back of our mind. But either way, in China, NIO is the leader amongst about 4 different Chinese companies that are starting to make hay. So we have XPeng and Li Auto, both of which are publicly traded, and then WM Motor, which appears to be a private company over in China. So we'll come back to the other two when it comes to trying to value NIO's stock. Okay, now there are 3 main vehicles that NIO sells. First, they have the EC6, and then they have the ES6, and then finally the ES8. And as we may be able to tell by looking at these pictures, well, they focus on the premium SUV market. Now, this isn't where they're stopping. They also have a car called the ET7, which they're bringing out, I believe, either at the end of this year or into next year. Sometime soon, they're going to bring out their first sedan. Okay, now there are a few facts that we should be aware of about NIO. So the primary one, and the most important one in my opinion, is that NIO is backed by a company called Tencent. That's a Chinese technology company, or they're really a social media conglomerate even. They have a large presence in China, and they actually back 2 different companies. They back both NIO and the other electric car company that I mentioned, WM Motor. That's the private one. Well, either way, I understand them backing both companies, but it is nice to see how much money is standing behind NIO and how much experience as far as running a business efficiently in China. And if we're curious, the main difference between NIO and WM Motor is WM Motor seems to focus more on the mass market car, where NIO is focusing more on premium vehicles. And I recognize that I'm ignoring the electric vehicles being brought to the market by internal combustion companies, traditional car companies. I understand we're ignoring that, and I understand that there are many good electric vehicles coming out of those companies, but I'm really just trying to focus on the electric car companies that I think are a bit more comparable to something like Tesla. NIO and Tesla are good comparisons, except NIO is primarily focusing in China right now. Okay, that being said, let's look quickly at some of the suppliers for NIO, and then we'll jump over to trying to value NIO's stock. So, NIO is getting their batteries from a company called CATL, and CATL is a huge player in the electric vehicle game. CATL has a deal with Tesla, and we're not sure how many batteries Tesla is going to be buying from CATL, but there have been rumors that at some point up to half of the batteries provided at the Shanghai factory will come from CATL, since they have some more advanced technologies that could serve Tesla well. They're supposed to be making a cheaper battery. But either way, it's important that a player like NIO is backed by, or is getting their batteries from a company like CATL, which is clearly doing a good job of providing the services that they're providing. They've already got a battery that they claim can do more than 1 million miles. I think they claim it can do 1.2 million miles, which is a big deal in the electric vehicle space. Okay, so let's say that NIO is covered on the battery side. Along those same lines, one important point that I think we should keep in the back of our minds is that the Chinese government is leading the push towards electric vehicles. For example, as far as charging stations go, in the United States, it's estimated to have about 32,000 charging stations right now. Meanwhile, the Chinese government is pushing for lots of electric charging stations, and it's estimated that they have over 500,000 charging stations, which helps explain why they're doing so well as far as why and how they're providing, or so many people are driving electric vehicles in China. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up. So going back to some of their suppliers, well, NIO is working with companies like Bosch, and then they have Brembo, JAC Motors is one of their suppliers. Then they're dealing with Mobileye, which is a part of Intel. So it looks like NIO is well positioned for some growth going forward. Okay, so now where are we from a valuation standpoint for NIO stock? Well, I think it makes sense to start with some very basic numbers. This is NIO's revenue chart going back the past few years. And I'm sure it's no surprise that we're seeing Originally, a lot of nothing for the first couple of years, and then some decent growth, including some estimated growth. Those are the green bars there. That's for 2020 and 2021. So it is estimated that NIO will continue to grow, which is not very surprising considering how young they are and what kind of business that they're in. And I also wanted to point out that I'm using the American currency here, not the Chinese currency. Okay, now when we switch over to the gross profit, well, we can see over the past 12 months, the gross profit for NIO just recently went positive. We're going to come back to this one in a second when it comes to trying to value their stock, but clearly it's going to be very difficult for them to make a profit when we switch over to their net income. Now, net income we can see is largely negative, although it is trending in the right direction. But even when we consider analyst estimates, well, it looks like NIO is going to be not profitable for at least the next couple of years. Now, I'm not sure that this necessarily deters us from investing in the company. After all, the stock has done fantastic over the past year or so. But that being said, what do we think NIO's stock could be worth today? Switching back to the gross profit chart here. Well, I actually think it's dangerous to use gross profit. Sometimes we would use gross profit compared to the overall stock value or perhaps enterprise value, but I think it's a bit dangerous because they just got there, which would make it a bit too volatile. That being said, I think a more logical approach is to use a price to sales multiple. And to calculate that, we simply take the current price and divide it by the current revenue per share of the company. Revenue and sales are the same thing. So when we look at NIO, well, we can see they're trading at about 35 times sales. Now we have to have some comparisons. The most logical comparison is Tesla, since they are the leader in the industry. Right now, Tesla's price to sales is about 16x. And then when we look at XPeng, well, they're trading at about 53x, and LI Auto is trading at about 93x. So I think that these bottom two are a bit crazy, given one, how small they are. They are smaller than NIO is right now from a number of cars sold on an annual basis. So I don't think we could easily make a case that NIO should be trading closer to their multiples, so I think it makes sense to take them off the comparison list for now. I think Tesla is the most logical comparison since they're sort of the gold standard in the industry, and you could easily make the case that they're a superior company to NIO given the current stage that both companies are in right now. And if we believe that Tesla is the gold standard, well then I could easily make the case that NIO should be trading at a multiple lower than Tesla's. But let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they should also be trading at about 16 times sales. Well, at that multiple, when we switch over to NIO's stock chart, at 16 times sales, that implies that NIO should be trading closer to about $21 a share. So clearly, according to this logic, well, NIO's stock is currently way overpriced. Now, that being said, it is possible that NIO continues to grow and their stock continues to climb. For me, I think that NIO is way too risky, but I also said that about Tesla hundreds of dollars ago, and that stock has proven me wrong over and over again. With that being said, it is possible that NIO does the very same thing, but I think I much prefer to be on the long-term investment standpoint, and I think there's way too many question marks with this company. So for me, I've got to avoid it, but I do like the fundamental business. I do think that the future of the automobile industry are electric vehicles, and they are making good headway with that, but I'm not willing to pay this price. Now, if you're curious about the types of companies that I am leaning towards, the types of companies that I prefer, I actually did a video where I talk about the top 5 stocks that have performed well in some of the most recent crashes. So if you're interested, perhaps that could be a good next video for you to watch. I got a link right here. I got a link in the description below. And thank you so much for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.